An argument often used against the Venus project is that we don't have the technology to implement our vision, that we're basing things on science fiction. So, let's put that to bed, starting right now.
At PV Expo 2010, Kyocera exhibited solar window glass which generates power using spherical solar cells called Svela, developed by Kyocera. Svela are spherical solar cells 1.8 mm in diameter made from solidified silicon droplets. They can be used in various applications, including flexible solar cells where the spheres are arranged on a soft film backing, and dome-shaped modules. Because they are highly transparent to light, these cells are expected to be used in solar window glass.
これは球状のシリコンの太陽電池を使っていますので、どの方向の光も球状の場合は吸収したら外れてきるわけです。それで垂直に立てても、斜めから来た光に対してもある程度吸収しますし、反射光をどんどん周囲から来ますから、それも吸い取って発電するわけです。で同時に正面以外の裏側ですね、裏側からも光が来ればそれは電気に変換されるわけですから、非常に周囲の光を取り込むという面で、窓ガラスに使っても、大変効果的に発電することができると。
It begins with the sun. All of the energy resources on Earth come from the sun. In just 1 second, the sun produces more energy than has been used by humanity through all of history. The idea of using solar power is not new. Unfortunately, atmospheric filtering, cloud cover, site location, and the daily rotation of the Earth severely limit the potential of ground-based solar power. But there is a way to overcome these obstacles. By placing the solar collectors in orbit, we can capture up to 20 times the energy available on the ground. Safe, wireless power transmission technology then directs the power to the receiving station for use on Earth. The combination of orbiting solar collector and power transmission system is called a powersat. When powersats were first envisioned, solar cells were heavy and expensive to produce. Over the past 30 years, technology has advanced to the point that powersats are now practical. The powersat is in geosynchronous orbit, so it stays in one position relative to the Earth. The electricity is transmitted through a large array of antenna elements to a receiving station on the ground. The power beam is environmentally friendly. Birds and aircraft can fly through it with no ill effects. The center of the beam has an energy density about 1/4 of that of natural sunlight. The power beam is not affected by clouds, wind, or the Earth's rotation, working equally well both day and night. The power beam is received by a large antenna array on the ground. The land beneath the receiver remains suitable for range or agriculture. The received power is conditioned, then placed on the existing grid, ready to service customers. The station you've just seen can provide power for a major metropolitan region. It does this with no moving parts, no turbines, no reactor, no radioactive material, and best of all, no fuel. It emits no greenhouse gas and needs no coal mines or oil wells. This is the future of energy. PowerSat.
Ocean Thermal Energy Conversion, OTEC, is an innovative power generation system that uses the slight temperature difference between surface layer ocean water and deep ocean water. Zenesis Incorporation has acquired an exclusive license for the patent on the Uehara cycle, a cycle developed by Saga University with higher efficiency than the conventional method, and is implementing demonstration testing using an OTEC mini model plant.
こちら私どもゼネシスが開発しております海洋温度差発電の模型となっております。電力を得る方法として従来の火力発電や原子力発電と同じような原理を用いています。蒸気を温めることによってその蒸気でタービンを回すと。作動媒体として水ではなくアンモニアを使うことによって非常に低い温度でも発電が行われることができます。
First, a mixture of ammonia and water is sent to an evaporator. There, the mixture is evaporated by the red-colored surface layer ocean water, which then rotates the mixed steam turbine to generate electricity. The mixed steam is then cooled and condensed to liquid by the blue-colored deep ocean water, and then once again sent to the evaporator as recycled water. Through the repetition of this cycle, power can be continuously generated using only ocean water. The Ocean Thermal Energy Conversion System of course outputs zero CO2 emissions and can provide a stable annual supply of electricity because it is not affected by weather variations, as is the case with wind power and solar power generation systems. The OTEC system demonstrates significant potential as an ultimate power supply system for the future.
The water of the oceans of the world is almost always in motion. Hardly ever interrupted, waves break at the coastlines, sometimes strong, sometimes weaker. There is an enormous energy potential that is available round the clock and free of charge. A potential that, if fully exploited, could satisfy 40% of the worldwide demand for power. This equals the output of 700 to 800 nuclear power stations. Voigt Hydro Wavegen is developing technologies to convert this inexhaustible energy into electric power without the emission of harmful greenhouse gases. The operating principle of this wave power station is as simple as it is ingenious. An enclosed chamber has an opening beneath sea level, which allows water to flow from the sea to the chamber and back. The water level in the chamber rises and falls with the rhythm of the waves, and air is forced forwards and backwards through the turbine, connected to an upper opening in the chamber. As it is compressed and decompressed, the airflow has sufficient power to drive the Wells turbine. It is a feature of the Wells turbine, named after its inventor, that it is driven in the same direction by both forward and reverse airflow through the turbine. Even relatively low wave motions can generate enough airflow to keep the turbine moving and to generate energy. This is how easily energy can be generated with a wave power station, day and night, all year round, as long as there are waves. The world's first power station of this kind was put in service as early as November 2000 on the Scottish island of Islay and has been feeding power to the grid ever since.
Earth, home to nearly 7 billion people. And as the population grows, so does the demand for power. But in today's world, we are faced with an even greater challenge. With concerns increasing over climate change, it is essential that we change the way we think about generating power, not only to meet the increasing demand, but to do it in a way that preserves our environment for future generations. Introducing the Regeneradyne wind turbine system. For centuries, mankind has utilized the power of the wind. But for today's power needs, we need to bring wind power to a whole new level. A modern marvel in engineering, which uses a unique combination of science and technology to form an extremely efficient and powerful generator. By comparison, it is estimated that a single Regeneradyne system can produce the power equivalent of 500 standard wind turbines. By design, the entire site is centralized into one location, and in most configurations, a typical installation would require approximately 100 acres of land. This consolidation not only improves efficiency, but can also save on land resources. A key advantage of the Regeneradyne system is its use of magnetic levitation. This allows the turbine to essentially float on a magnetic cushion of air. And by reducing resistance due to friction, the power output is increased dramatically. The outer sails move to accommodate the wind from any direction. These dynamic sails work to capture a larger portion of the wind and increase the airflow into the turbine. In the event maintenance or repair is required, additional features have been incorporated into the design, such as a helicopter landing platform and an integrated crane. Also, the primary components are located at ground level for improved accessibility. With on-site power storage and conversion, the Regenodyne system is completely self-sufficient and grid-ready. The economics of wind power have steadily improved over the years, and with the added benefit of being a domestically produced energy source, this new wind power plant competes favorably against other forms of power generation. Global demand for electricity is increasing exponentially, and as we approach the limits of fossil fuel consumption, wind power has regained global interest as a safe, cost-effective, and renewable energy source. Regenodyne is committed to leading the industry and the world in changing the way we create power going forward.
Seldom has the unveiling of a gray box the size of a parking space been surrounded by such hype.
It's my baby, isn't she beautiful?
But its inventor says what's inside the box can supply the world with clean, cheap energy.
The core of our technology simply is sand.
The sand is the raw material used to make these wafers that can make electricity.
What I want to introduce to you, the Bloom Energy Fuel Cell.
Bloom's fuel cell works like this. Oxygen is pumped in on one side, natural gas on the other. The two combine inside the cell to create a chemical reaction that produces electricity. No burning, no combustion, no power lines from outside.
This particular device, way back, John, you remember, Vinod, you remember, 5 watts. There's a Moore's Law equivalent. I don't know what that is yet. We will tell you in a few years. Today it produces 25 watts, enough for a light bulb. 2 years from now, stay tuned. Okay? So you take a bunch of these together and you put them together in what we call a stack. Think of this as the chip in your computer. If this were the microprocessor in your computer, this would power an average US home. 24/7, 365, all your energy needs. Average US home. So you take a bunch of these stacks, put them together in a box about the size of a refrigerator, and that's enough to power a small Starbucks coffee shop. You take 4 of those 25 kilowatts together and put them in a box, affectionately called the Bloom box now, about the size of a parking lot. We would prefer you call it the Bloom Energy Server. About the size of a parking space. And that can power a small supermarket. You need more power? You do exactly what you do in a data center. You have multiple servers, and as your computing need increases, you keep adding the servers. You just cluster them. You just cluster our boxes to add to the power that you need to meet your energy needs.
Imagine a world where the weather didn't matter. A world where you could grow tomatoes, lettuce, and a whole host of other fruits and vegetables, even when it's 30 below. Welcome to Ted Marshallden's world.
We can be indoors, so you could set this like clockwork. It's high noon all day, every day, 24/7.
In Ted's world, plants aren't affected by drought, cold, or any other plight affecting farmers today. And unlike a greenhouse, he doesn't need daylight or much space. Ted calls this the future of farming.
Everybody's moving into the cities. Where 50% of the population in North America is in the cities, they figure this is going to go up to 80%. So we've stacked up people, but we have not stacked up farming.
Plants are grown in these stacked up, slow-rotating cylinders. Using the cylinder means each plant is bathed in equal light. If the plants were laid out flat, he'd have to use 6 times more light. The moving cylinders have another benefit as well.
Plants are trying to right themselves against gravity whenever they're not perpendicular to the ground. So if you turn a tomato plant on its side, a nice pliable week-old tomato plant, it will make a 90-degree turn back up against gravity in 15 minutes.
And here's the really cool part. Ted says because the plants are constantly turning in the cylinder, they're always fighting against gravity. And that constant battle forces extra nutrients to the stems, making bigger, stronger, faster-growing plants.
We've noticed as much as a factor 5 increase in the growth rate of the plants versus something that's just sitting stagnant, even with the same conditions. We did romaine lettuce. The seed packet said 60 to 75 days, and we were done in 15 days.
He says he uses about 1% of the water used on a field farm and far less space.
If you give me a 10-story building with an acre of footprint, my calculations are I can turn that into about 400 acres of field farm production equivalency.
Ted says farmers could potentially grow fields of food anywhere.
ULTRA stands for Urban Light Transit, a new concept in travel for the 21st century. 12 years in development, ULTRA brings a fresh approach to traffic congestion and pollution, responding to the needs of passengers. It's quick, comfortable, and convenient. ULTRA is an automated transit system using many 4-person, zero-emission electric vehicles. ULTRA gets you to your destination faster than a car and avoids parking hassles. ULTRA is well suited to serve offices and airports, blending in easily with modern architecture. ULTRA makes transit and carpooling more effective, connecting a single train station to 30,000 desks. Stations are on a separate track from the main track, so that stopped vehicles do not interfere with the free flow of passing traffic. With ULTRA, you don't wait for vehicles. Vehicles wait for you. Modern communications and location sensing technology allow vehicles to run at precisely controlled intervals, creating a high-capacity system. Moving smoothly and silently, the battery-powered vehicles are safe and reliable, traveling up to 3 times faster than a car. PRT allows complex transit networks, weaving tracks around buildings with tight turns, bringing transit right to the front door, placing many stations close together. Tracks don't have to go simply in a straight line. The network accommodates non-stop, point-to-point direct service to all stations every time. ULTRA stations can be located adjacent to buildings or even directly on the second floor, further increasing convenience. At high-capacity locations, ULTRA stations have correspondingly more vehicle berths and more efficient vehicle choreography. Ultra is easy to use. After making your choice, Ultra will take you there non-stop. The vehicles allow easy access for bikes and wheelchairs, with plenty of space for people, backpacks, and briefcases. London's Heathrow Airport will host the world's first Ultra system. Construction at Heathrow has already begun. Ultra is transit for a sustainable future.
Here's a car that really puts the auto back into automobile. It's a 2006 VW Passat, and it is moving around this parking lot without a driver. No human is inside it, and no one is steering it by remote control. Nicknamed Junior, this robot car probes its environment with rotating laser scanners, which paint a 360-degree image of the surroundings 10 times a second. Then Junior decides for himself, using artificial intelligence software running on powerful computers, just how best to proceed along the route that has been assigned to him. Sebastian Thrun leads the Stanford engineering team that's teaching Junior how to drive.
We have to build cars that can understand the world, they can understand other vehicles, sense them, perceive them, make predictions, and interact with them. So we have to understand if we come to a stop sign that the other car might be there first, it might want to go first. There are certain rules that govern regular traffic, and we have to be able to adhere to these rules. So we have to make machines that replicate human thinking in that specific domain.
Watching Junior's every move is a group of inspectors from the government's Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA for short. They're the serious-looking guys in the white shirts. They've come to Mountain View to evaluate Junior, to test its ability to maneuver in city street conditions along a course laid out on a parking lot at Shoreline Amphitheater. Stanford won't know until August, but if Junior performs to the DARPA judge's satisfaction, then the team can advance to the next round in DARPA's Urban Challenge, when, on November 3, as many as 20 robot car building teams will compete for a $2 million grand prize. For the most part, Junior ran his routes without a problem, but at one point he simply stopped and refused to go around a parked car. Apparently, his computer brain was programmed with a little too much caution. After finishing the other tests, DARPA let Team Stanford and Junior have another go at it. Again, as he approached the parked car, Junior stopped and seemed to give the situation careful thought. This time, however, a more confident Junior drove right around the stopped vehicle. After his test drives were over, Junior got rock-star treatment from the media.
Okay, so this is Junior.
Sebastian Thrun, clearly pleased with Junior's performance, showed off the car's main features.
It's equipped for driving by a computer. And the way you see this, first you see the full trunk is full of computers. We can open it for you a sec. You see a computer system where the trunk usually is. There's a big computer station in here. There's a GPS system over here, a connection hub over here, a power control box over here, and this box over here is the interface to the car itself. So this box over here talks to the car and lets us, by computer, actuate things like steering, brake, and gas and throttle. Then, also important, is this perception of the vehicle. So you see down here, sensors on the wheel over here. These guys over here, slightly dusty, they are sensors, and they are able to perceive the environment and build a model inside the vehicle as to how the environment looks like. And the last important thing is when you get inside the driver's cabin, this looks very much just like a very normal driver cabin, except there's a few extra switches, and these are the switches where you go from human control to computer control. So when you flip those, the car drives itself, and you have multiple switches for things like gearbox and throttle and turn signals and so on. That all together is the car. The last thing that I can show you is called software. So what really drives this machine is not the hardware, it's the smarts, it's in the computer programs, it's the artificial intelligence. And that's what this car does exceptionally well.
For Stanford's autonomous vehicle team, this project is about something much more audacious than winning big prize money in the DARPA challenge. After all, that's something they've already done back in 2005. For them, it's really about building the future.
I'm very confident at some point during my lifetime we're going to see cars that drive themselves. I'm going to have a button in my car that says, bring me home to my garage, I can fall asleep, it's going to drive me home, and I'm going to be better off because every year in this nation we kill something like 42,000 people in traffic accidents, mostly because of human error. If we can make cars safer, they can drive themselves, we can make blind people drive, we can make old people drive that otherwise couldn't drive anymore, children, or me when I'm fatigued or, God forbid, had a beer too much after a night in the pub. I think there's so many benefits of this technology, it's going to be really great to have.
A short ceremony was held at the newly built Wuhan railway station to launch the official start of China's first high-speed passenger railway. The service links Wuhan, the capital city of Hubei province, in the Guangzhou, the capital city of Guangdong province, cutting travel time between the two cities from 10 hours to 3 hours. Wuhan's TV reporter Hu Li was there.
I'm right now standing on the #1 platform of the newly built Wuhan railway station. About 3 minutes later, I will get on the first train of the Wuhan to Guangzhou Express Railway with 1,200 passengers to Guangzhou, a city 1,068 kilometers away from here. While 3 hours journey, let's experience China's first high-speed railway together.
And the ride would be somewhat like this. For those of us in America, 385 kilometers an hour is about 240 miles an hour. And this is about 267 miles an hour.
It's 11:50 Beijing time. We arrived at the Guangzhou North Railway Station, passing through 20 cities, over 600 bridges, and through 200 tunnels, which I think is kind of feeling like fly with your feet on the ground. The trip was pleasant and unveiled a brand new page on China's railway network, not only because of its latest technology, longest mileage, or fastest speed, but also the overall improvement of China's railway network. Hu Li and Li Jing for CCTV International from Guangzhou, Guangdong Province.
As you can see by this article in Popular Science, the vacuum tube train, a 4,000 mile per hour magnetically levitated train, could allow you to have lunch in Manhattan and still get to London in time for the theater, despite the 5-hour time difference. It's not impossible. Norway has studied neutrally buoyant tunnels, concluding they are feasible, although expensive, and Shanghai is running maglev trains to its airports. But supersonic speeds require another critical step, eliminating the air, and therefore air friction, from the train's path. A vacuum would also save the tunnel from the destructive effects of a sonic boom, which, unchecked, could potentially rip the tunnel apart. So as you can see, the technology exists to even go 4,000 miles an hour in a train.
This is Quebec City in Canada. It's about as French as you can get without actually being in France. If you're walking around taking in the sights, it pays to speak a bit of the language. So here goes. Mettre un pas devant l'autre.
In English, that's just put one foot in front of the other, meaning the task at hand is quite simple. But for some people, even the natural act of walking can be an everyday challenge.
Simon Bouchard is a 27-year-old PhD student. In 1998, he was diagnosed with cancer in his left leg. Despite a bone graft, the cancer returned, and 3 years ago, he lost his leg at the knee. Like many amputees, he now walks with the aid of a prosthetic limb, but his is unique. You see, it has a brain. Well, artificial intelligence to be exact. And it does everything his right leg tells it to do. Here's how it works. Step 1. Wireless sensors, excuse me mate, transmit information from the sound leg to the bionic leg. Step 2. That information is then processed by software embedded in here. It interprets Simon's intentions and creates movement based on the action of his sound leg. Step 3. A naturally balanced walk. Standard artificial legs, known as passive prosthetics, have limited joint movement, which simply respond to pressure placed on them. You can see in the front-on shot on the left that Simon's action is not smooth. But when Simon is wearing the bionic leg, his gait is more natural. The battery-driven motors are providing the propulsion, and the sophisticated joints provide more shock absorption. And because the bionic leg is doing all the work, there's less wear and tear where the leg joins his knee, a common and potentially serious problem with passive prosthetics. The brains behind the leg, is Stefan Bader, founder and executive vice president of Vitcom Human Bionics.
I can show here maybe the frame of the prosthesis, and more or less it's a very simple frame. For sure we have worked a lot on that because the weight of the prosthesis was a very important feature because we wanted to achieve the same weight of a natural leg, which is around 4.2 or 4.5 kilogram.
It's a two-part system. A pad in Simon's right shoe monitors movement and pressure, making up to 1,300 calculations per second. This data is collected by a sensor on Simon's right ankle, which sends the information wirelessly to software embedded in the bionic leg. Actions like walking or climbing stairs are usually repetitive ones, so the information enables the motorized bionic leg to replicate the action and the speed of the sound leg. In practice, that means Simon can tackle everyday obstacles you and I take for granted.
With the other leg, I have to climb this way, one step at a time, or two. But
and you'd have to pull the other leg up.
Yeah, but I can do it in a normal way, like this.
That is fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a really natural gait down.
Yeah. Take a bit of practice, but yeah, it's more comfortable.
Simon just needs to remember to start any new action, like climbing a stair, with his right foot, so the left one can then learn it. Yeah. Simon was one of about 20 who took part in the trials over 18 months. He's been using his bionic leg full-time for the past 6 months. For Stefan and his team, getting the leg ready for human use has been a long process. It took 15 years to design the artificial intelligence software and the hardware to carry it around. The team built this robotic simulator to help develop the most lifelike prostheses before trialling it on amputees.
One thing interesting of this bionic leg, it's a finished product, it's something complete, but you know that's just the top of the iceberg.
Yeah.
And I'm really eager to see what she will do in the future.
They're billed as the world's first bionic fingers. They've been built by British scientists.
The technology really is amazing, and the folks at Touch Bionics tell me that it's only going to get better, and I can't even imagine anything more awesome than this.
Eric Jones is one of the patients who've been testing them out in the trial stages.
I can do things a lot faster, so I can fold laundry faster, I can pick things up and walk around, I can pick up my kid's Lego.
They've been built by Touch Bionics, the same West Lothian firm which produced the bionic iLimb hand. Those fitted with the device will be able to bend, touch, pick up and point. The firm's marketing director, Philip Newman, says it has the potential to transform the lives of thousands of people with missing digits.
The feedback has been fantastic. We've actually fit over 30 people now with ProDigit as a solution, and we're finding now that we've learned through the early stages of those fittings with control strategies, coverings, and all of the things that you expect when you're an early stage technology, but we spend a lot of time working with patients and other clinical professionals, and we're very comfortable with the solution that ProDigit now represents.
The ProDigits are custom-made and fitted onto what remains of the hand. Sensors register muscle signals from the residual finger or palm. One of the things that makes them special is their ability to grip without crushing an object.
WakeMed's new Da Vinci Si HD is the latest in robotic surgery technology. The HD video provides highly accurate depth perception. Instruments that move with the physician's fingertips enable flexibility and precision during surgery. This video, taken during a training session, demonstrates the agility of the instruments and the ability to work in small spaces. Note the dime for scale.
We've had 3 ENTs down here already. We just received approval from the FDA for head and neck surgery, so transoral surgery instead of a mandibulotomy, where they open the patient in their jaw. We actually do it through the mouth with no incisions. Thyroid surgery through the transaxillary approach instead of a neck incision. So those are 2 recent FDA approvals where we've had Wake faculty physicians down here looking at the system and seeing the benefits. Less invasive, obviously much less invasive than a mandibulotomy. They go home sooner, shorter hospital stay, better recovery, less pain. I mean, the list is endless about how the patient benefits.
My name is Walt Hunt. I had been diagnosed with prostate cancer, and I was not waiting and watching and observing the cancer over a period of time was not an option due to the aggressive nature of the particular cancer that I have. I needed to make a decision to attack it head on, either through surgery or through radiation treatment.
Using my thumb and index fingers to direct the robotic arms, which are about 10 feet away from me. Actually, I'm sitting about 10 feet away from the patient right now, and so using my thumb and index finger, I can direct the robotic arms to move in different directions. The advantage here is that I'm able to perform an operation with a greater degree of dexterity and a greater degree of precision than we can with open surgery.
This is through very small incisions. There are a number of them. I think I have a total of 6 entry areas in my stomach, but they're very small, and the overall recovery time from this minimally invasive procedure has been very, very fast.
I gotta say, I like this 3D image.
When you can do a finer operation, the real advantage comes to the patient. They tend to have less blood loss, they tend to recover very quickly, and they tend to be able to leave the hospital usually in the next day or the day after.
It was 2.5 weeks ago, and I'm pretty much back to normal.
Well, robotic surgery was introduced not a long time ago, and it's standard laparoscopy that we've done before, but now it allows me to do more complicated patient cases or surgeries in a less traumatic way, so the patients can go home the same day and go back to their normal function faster and less expenses and pain for sure. This is the newest technology out there, and we've been doing it here for almost a year, and it's been very successful. We can do hysterectomies, we can do adnexal masses, pelvic masses removal, we can do like adhesions if the patient has a lot of adhesions. Myomectomy if they have fibroids, we take the fibroids out, and pelvic floor reconstruction, something called sacrocolpopexy. It simulates what you do in an open case with making small incisions in your abdomen. That's the biggest benefit, and patients can go home literally the same day, and they'll be doing great. I had a patient once who went to Disney 10 days after her complete hysterectomy, and she was doing these roller coasters, and she was doing great. So if patient were not to be exposed to robotic surgery and had simple hysterectomy like the old-fashioned, it would be through an incision through the abdomen. So she will stay 3 days in the hospital in pain. She'll stay 6 weeks out of work in pain, and with loss of scar and complications to follow. And that would be completely avoided with doing robotic surgeries.
So the next time someone says the vision of the Venus Project is science fiction, show them this video. The technology we have today is amazing. I can only imagine what it will be like in the future under the freedom of a resource-based economy. Make sure to visit the Venus Project online to learn more about how the future can be for mankind, if we only take the actions necessary to make it a reality. And join the Zeitgeist movement, the advocacy arm of the Venus Project, where citizens of the world are coming together to make this unsane world sane. Thank you.